I'm so grateful to be with you. I feel very humbled to be in this position to find you and this moment in time, this day. Um, we come to moments like this in the year, Jewish and non-Jewish, with always a little bit of trepidation because facing ourselves and being reflected in our journeys is both a wonderful opportunity, but it's also sometimes scary. So today I thought rather than focusing on what often shows up in the Yom Kippur liturgy, which is about where we've missed the mark, I want to focus us on our holiness because that's also a huge part of the liturgy. The liturgy has us repeat over and over again the 13 attributes of God, the 13 midot that God holds, but we hold. And, God is ineffable. We don't know God. But these attributes we do know. We know when we say compassion, when we're compassionate and when we're not. We know when it means slow to anger, when we're reactive, and when we can sit in our pain. So today, what I wanted to focus on is the vessel of the body, which responds to these attributes because we register everything in our tissue. But I also want us to recognize how the heart and the breath literally come together in this moment of reflection. And the more we can allow the breath to soften the hard areas and receive the generosity of the community and the love of our tradition, the more we can go into this period of the 10 days and then Yom Kippur, and whether you celebrate or not, this period as we're entering fall, for those of us in this hemisphere, with an awareness, a consciousness of intentionality. And the intentionality is about, for me, it's about not focusing on where we aren't, but focusing on where we are and what we want to create in our lives, the people and the qualities that we want to inhabit so that we can be the best of who we are. There is within the liturgy this holiness code about how we should behave. But if our behavior is not in alignment with our intention, then it doesn't have authenticity. So today, before we actually go into the mindfulness of the quiet, I want you to just take some time to open your bodies because we come into the chair with all of our restrictions, which make it kind of hard to breathe. So I like to give you an opportunity to go into those places where our bodies maybe are holding some fear or tension. And I start with my arms because I know that in my arms, I can let go of some of the tightness around my heart. And I'm challenged between seeing all of you because I can't obviously do that. So I'm just going to assume that you're with me. And we're opening our arms and noticing what that does to our ribs. Because when we lift our arms, we lift our ribs. And when we lift our ribs, we get access to our diaphragm. And the diaphragm is our main breathing muscle. And when we get access to our main breathing muscle, the areas that are tight can soften. So come right up here to your sternal angle, your clavicle, your rib cage, and just do a little massaging in here. And you can soften between the ribs. And in softening between the ribs, you'll find some tender places. And when I teach a lot about breathing. In fact, we do a session in Dorot. We just did one on Tuesday. We're going to keep going in December. We go into where are the places that our particular holding spots are. For me, it's my jaw. Oh my goodness, I hold so much tightness right in there. I know I'm not alone because TMJ is a rapidly recognized issue. And so I think about letting my jaw, my tongue, and my throat open so I can breathe better. Yeah. And then I let it move a little bit back and forth. And then I'm going to do that same thing with my pelvis. I'm just going to let my pelvis sit in the chair by stretching a little bit from side to side, opening my lower back. And notice that if you go from side to side, even if you do a little figure eight, you'll get some energy. And if you came into the session at 12:30 a little tired, this might wake you up a little bit. And what's so great about doing this is you can do it right here in your chair. You don't have to get on a yoga mat. And you can do it before a conversation, after a conversation. And now I'm going to lead you in letting your head drop and letting your shoulders come forward and letting your rib cage widen. And as you stretch forward, see if you can get into some of those creaky places in the spine. And then we'll come back up again. And we don't think about this as, we don't think of our body as holy, but actually it is. Who would we be without our beating heart? Who would we be without our holy breath? And when I hear that song of Shir, I think about where are the places in my body today that need holiness, that need tenderness, that need, in Hebrew, kedusha, some sanctification, some reverence. Because in fact, living from a place of holiness and reverence gives you a lens out into the world. And you then begin to see the miracles of the light in the trees. And you see the breath as wind. And you see what's possible when you get out of your own little story brain and you join as part of the universe of miracles. And I just want to say, since I live in Florida, I'm currently in Brooklyn, I live in Florida, the miracle that the hurricane came through yesterday and was not as devastating as we feared. And just the gratitude that the earth is trying to right herself. The warming waters, I don't need to tell you, but I'm so grateful there wasn't too much devastation. So I'm inviting you in this moment to just find any last place. Shoulders, for me, oh my goodness. Do you notice that you walk around with your shoulders to your ears? Let your shoulders release a little bit. It could even be your toes or your hands. I'm hanging out with my 10-month-old baby and I'm my grandbaby, and I'm noticing how much she uses her fingers and her toes when she's exploring the world. We stop doing that to our detriment. So as I bring you into this moment of quiet and silence, just notice, is there any other place that your body is asking to release? And then I'm going to invite you to get your feet on the floor if you can. It might mean that you'll have to put a pillow behind your back or bring yourself to the front of the chair, but it really helps to get your feet on the floor, because when you do that, you don't have to hold your back, and that will relax your lower back. So if you bring your feet on your floor, if you bring your sit bones into the chair, and if you feel the support of your back body in the chair, that will really help. And we're just going to focus on these attributes as attributes to the heart. I'm just going to say a few of them for you. Adonai Adonai, source of life. El Rahum V'Hanum, compassionate, tender. Erech Apayim, what does it mean to have this generosity of spirit? And what does it mean to be full of chesed? So you're going to say these if you go to shul or if you're in the machzor for a period of time, but we're just today going to think about the first word. Adonai, Adonai El Rahum V'Hanum, compassionate one. And I want you to use this time to feel your compassion for yourself, your compassion for places that are hard, your compassion for the struggle we're in right now. And if that word doesn't work for you, you can try loving kindness. And as you sit for the next 20 minutes or so, all you're going to do is breathe in loving kindness and let it soften your heart. That's all. And as you breathe out, let whatever needs to go, go. So I'm going to be quiet. I'm going to frame this session, bringing in loving kindness and compassion to your heart through your breath and letting it out. And I'm not going to keep talking so you can have time to close your eyes and to go inside. And for some people, it's easy to breathe in and out through the nose. For others, it's easier to breathe in the nose and out the mouth. You do what feels comfortable for you. Allow the tender-hearted quality of the breath open you to the divine mystery of this moment. Allow the breath to soften the hard places. Allow the breath to widen your inner landscape, emotionally and physically. Allow the breath to fill you with compassion for yourself, for others. Allow the breath to soften our fear and transform our resistance.
Small things, the beginnings of infinite significance, to sense the ultimate and the
we can draw closer to God.
Noticing vibration. Breathe in. Which part of yourself would
Breathe in surprises and breathe out worry. And in these last few minutes, go back to your body. See if you can feel the places that were sticky and complainy. See if you can offer them love and compassion. Even the places that are tight, even the places that are complaining. Can we offer them breath and love? Our arthritic fingers, our strained muscles, any place where your body needs some attention. Now's a good time to offer it loving kindness. How we talk to our body really matters. The way we talk to our most cherished persons whether they're family or friends, cherishing with heartfelt kindness. Rahum Bahanum. As we come towards the end of this sit, I'm filled with gratitude to be able to share my practice with you. And I feel so privileged that you took the time today and trusted yourself that this was something that you need, something you want to give yourself. It's so easy to just say, oh, it's not going to make a difference if I just breathe for 15 minutes. And you see that it does. It makes a difference. It's just miraculous. So as you sit in this moment and open the eyes and join the Zoom room, take a moment to just feel, has anything shifted in the last few minutes or the last half an hour since you've been on this Zoom? Has anything gotten a little bit softer? It helps. It really helps to have evidence that this makes a difference. And that your presence in this room makes a difference because it creates a field of love and compassion. And the more we practice this, the more we replace the noise with some gentle, loving kindness, the dissonance with harmony. So there's a poem that was sent to me, and I thought it would be a nice way to end the sit. It's by Rosemary Wachtoller Tromer. Amen. When I forget that the whole world is holy, even the tiny dark bugs that slip through window screens and flock and stick to kitchen lights, even the charred black remains of forest, even the river as it floods bright red, even my cheeks are tear-stained and my body tightens with fear. That is when a kind letter from a stranger arrives in the mail. Or the rabbit will stand on his back legs to nibble on mint. Or the meadows will blaze with the day's last slant of sunlight. And my heart opens so wide that inside the fear rises praise. What beautiful liturgy. Thank you so much for coming today, for being part of this community, for adding your heart, your loving kindness, and your beingness to this group. We are so grateful to you. And we're going to stick around for a few more minutes, as is in the tradition of these sits. If there's anyone that wants to ask a question, make a comment, and just feels that they want their voice to be heard.
Thank you so much, Janice. Thanks for all of that. Beautiful. Looking forward to that conversation in a minute. Friends, we seal the practice as we do each day with an opportunity. Those of you who are in mourning or observing a yurt site, or if you're accustomed to joining the Kaddish, you're invited to do so. Thanks to Harry for sharing the words on the screen. If you're not reciting Kaddish, we ask for you to please stay present for those who are and offer your compassionate support. And you can put the name or names of anyone that you're honoring today through Kaddish in the chat now. or after we recite it. And if you're doing so, please join me by rising in body or in spirit. And you can unmute. If you're on Zoom, you can unmute at this time. Yit Gadal,
Shmei Rabba,
Yamad Ivrat,
Rakirte, V'Yamlech Malchute, Chai V'Yamlech V'Naye,
Ye Defal Beit Yisrael,
Rabba
Zman
Bisman
Karev,
Karev, Amen.
Yehi Shmei Rabba Mevarach,
Chalel
B'Shlom
Olam
Lamei Amaya, Yibrach
Yishtabach,
V'Yishtabach,
V'Yipar,
Yipar V'Yishtamam
V'Yitnaseh,
Hadar
Hadar
Yitalel
V'Yitalal
V'Yishmol
Shmei
Shmei
Kusha
Shachrichu,
Ela
Ela
Minkol
Minkol
Berchata
Berchata
B'Shirata,
B'Shirata,
V'Shvachata
V'Shvachata
B'Nechata
B'Nechata
Ta'amiran,
B'Amiran,
Amen.
Amar Yishu, Amen. Yehi Shlama Rabba Shemaya V'Chaim Aleinu V'Yalko Yisrael, Amen.
Aseh Shalom,
Shalom
Aseh
V'Yamah,
Shalom,
Shalom
Yoko
Israel,
Yisrael,
Israel,
Amen.
Amen.
Amen. And friends, thanks so much for joining us today. I want to thank Janice Rous for leading us so beautifully. I want to thank Claire Solomon Nissen from Dorot, who has been our liaison with Dorot, and grateful again for that partnership. Grateful to each of you for being here today, and to Harry for holding our tech space today. If you're leaving us now, we invite you to join us tomorrow, Erev Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur arrives tomorrow night, of course, coincides with Shabbat this year. One of the major themes of Yom Kippur is really addressing and meeting our own mortality. And we have a special sit tomorrow, which I think for the third year in a row is co-sponsored with the Shomer Collective, which is a wonderful Jewish nonprofit that addresses end-of-life issues. And we invite you to join us to prepare spiritually for Yom Kippur tomorrow on our daily sit, which I'll be leading at our usual time, 12:30. Again, thanks to everyone for being here. And if you're staying on and have a question you'd like to put to Janice, please put it in the chat and preface it by writing question all in caps. And otherwise, just feel free, of course, to share reflections on your experience. Janice was wonderful, really. Thank you so much. And the beginning, I want to begin by exploring the body practice that we started with, and it made me think of that quote that often comes up in IJS context, quote from James Joyce. I think it's from Dubliners, where he speaks about Mr. Duffy, who lived a short distance from his body. He's this bureaucrat who is very one-dimensional. It's just a great phrase, to live a short distance from one's body, which whenever I read that, I think, oh boy, that hits a little bit too close to home. So thanks for bringing me a lot closer to my body today and everyone else's. I want to invite you to say a little bit, maybe say a little bit about the work you do. I know it's, you have a lot of background in body work and, working with the body, but like, I'll just say what I got from it, from that very simple practice was, first of all, and this is no small thing, just noticing, oh, it's really true. All those thoughts and feelings and all those, the anxiety, the fear, grief, you name it, all of it is right here. And by treating the body with that compassion, it really helps address it, right? Much, for me, a lot more actually than just thinking about it, right? Or talking about it. It grounds it in a very different way in our lived experience. So that I'm just reflecting back to your appreciation for that. But maybe you can say a little bit about, why do you do that? Why do we start with the body? What's that about?
First of all, I feel like I am the representative of the body in the world. Because the body's neglected.
You're doing a great job. I'm sure the body thanks you.
The body as an energy is neglected. We're so brain oriented. Oh, yeah, especially if we're Jewish, we're carrying all this stuff. Oh, yeah. And not only do we carry it in our brain, but we carry it really, all that tribal memory in our body. And I've had a hard week. I was sick, and I was really, really into October 7th as a sort of tribal experience. And I really needed today to lift energetically out of the heaviness. And to be honest with you, there's ways to do it energetically that's also physical. So for me this morning, because I had a lot going on this morning, I also had to make chicken soup, and I had to do that. I went outside and I just did my little morning practice outside, letting the sun fill my third eye and open my crown, stretching through my arms, breathing in and out of my ribs, feeling all the ways in which I compress. And I have to do that like 20 times a day. Like, and this is my practice. I'm 74. My mother told me I came out of the belly dancing, and I kind of see it with my little 10-month-old. Some of us are lucky in that we're so somatically based that if we don't take care of our body, we really, really are miserable. So that's the good news and the bad news. But I offer it as a practice because our body's talking to us all the time. And that's why my work is called Body Dialogue. Can you listen to your body and then know how to help yourself? Particularly the nervous system right now. I really feel like the media and the news is an assault on our nervous system.
Yeah.
And if we don't counter it, I mean, some people it's physical exercise, go play tennis, go play pickleball. Some people that's enough. For other people, it's, sinking into a bathtub. For other people, it's the way you eat and how you prepare your food. There's not a one size fits all of how to be in the body. But if you neglect it, it's gonna show up as disease, I promise you. Not that you create disease. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying when we repress physical stuff in our body for too long, we don't listen, it keeps screaming at us until we do. Sadly.
Yeah.
And believe me, I'm not blaming anyone.
No. That's you. That's quite clear. You're not blaming any. You're not saying it's anybody's fault if they're ill, but we don't do ourselves any favors. That's for sure.
There's environmental stuff constantly. So how do we create a practice from the inside?
Right. Well, that's really inspirational. After this is over, I'm going to go outside in the sun, and I'm gonna do that too, Janice. Thanks. The other thing you lifted up that I think is important, Yom Kippur, I think for a lot of Jews is very complicated, and sometimes I think my sense is that for many people it's a very heavy day. I mean, I even mentioned that tomorrow we're going to do a meditation on mortality. There's a lot of that. There's Yisker, memorial service. There's the martyrology, which this year will be even heavier than it usually is. And there is a lot of heaviness, but you pointed out rightly that the mantra of Yom Kippur is these 13 attributes of compassion that you mentioned. And for people who may not be familiar with that, this is from the part of the Torah after the Israelites build the golden calf, and Moses comes down and sees what's going on. He smashes the tablets and says, look what you made me do. I got to go back up and negotiate with God. And Moses negotiates with God to forgive the people and to go forward with them. And God agrees. And then Moses says, hey, let me know what you're really about. And God says, you want the truth? You can't handle the truth. You can't see my face and live, but I'll show you this. And then what follows are these 13 attributes. So according to the Torah, this is like the closest that Moses gets to understanding what God or the divine is about. And it's these 13 qualities of, as you said, Janice, of compassion, forgiveness. It's like a thesaurus of words that are different but closely related, all of which have to do with compassion, which means that Yom Kippur is a day of practicing self-compassion and compassion for others. And you invited us to massage the space between the rib cage. I think maybe Julie Cole, somebody mentioned they had never done that before. Somebody mentioned they had never done that before, and I just realized I don't think I did that either. Like I've done a massage the space around the heart, but that whole idea of like opening up the spaces between in the rib cage, that was such like I want to encourage people. I'm going on a little bit of a rant here because of course we also have al hate where people tap. I'll say tap. Don't have to be tap your chest. That's for some, they have the custom either to substitute or add to that exactly what you were offering us. Like, well, I like that little. So what do you do? What do you do with that, Janice? What do you do with the? That seems like a good opportunity to use this practice of opening the space in the rib cage. I don't know if you do that, but I might do that.
Well, I actually do a lot of weird stuff in shul, and luckily,
Oh
I
well,
go, I,
please share.
I go to a minion that encourages movement,
That,
so it's not a
that's
problem.
great. That's great.
But I think what you're bringing, Mark, to me is that, it's like, where do we want our emphasis to be on this day?
Hmm.
The emphasis does not have to be getting smaller and shut down and tiny and disappearing. Like by Ne'ilah, when the gates are opened, we want to be open to a new experience of ourselves, a bigger and, for me, a more expansive self. Because what I find about being Jewish is if you want to belong to the tribe, there's a lot around beating ourselves up. What if we reversed it? What if rather than belonging, we go into the tightness and the victim stuff? Instead of that, we go into like, look at this beauty. And during the music of Yom Kippur, the music is so beautiful. So if you breathe with the music and if you breathe with the kehillah, because
Mm.
there's a lot of love in the kehillah, even if you've only davened with them for the first time. I always look around at the end of from Yom Kippur to Ne'ilah, and I look at it, wow, everybody looks so much nicer and softer. And
Mm.
people you feel the energy in the room, the field. Your body feels it too. So
When you're blessed to do that, it's like Ara. I think it's Ara. I hope you're saying your name right. There's this reading in the chat. This beautiful practice of taking a walk in the meadow, writing an intention in a book, and ornamenting it with a pressed flower that Ara picks on Yom Kippur. That's like such a beautiful. Like it's a day of to beautify the day. There is a question before we close. We only have 2 minutes left, Jen. So just um, Lori's asking this question, which may apply to others too. Lori wrote that the world situation, the news anxiety seems to settle in the solar plexus area, but Yom Kippur anxiety seems to be living higher up in the throat and tears. What practice might you suggest to honor, sit with, and have compassion for these without trying to oust them? It's a good distinction also.
oh yeah, yeah. Do you want us to start all over?
Well, we may have to save
I'll
it.
just,
Save
I'll
it to
just,
next time. You have
I'll
any
just,
quick
yeah, I'll tell
suggestion?
you the quick suggestion is to let yourself cry, to let yourself feel it and move it. Like, don't get stuck with the energy if you can.
Mm.
For some people, just hugging someone and letting yourself cry because you feel support. But the other thing is getting into your legs and into your pelvis and breathing all the way down into the bottom of your body. So, walking in a meadow is great. But even if you're davening and you start chuckling and you get out of that tightness in here, I
Mhm.
mean, there's so many things that I do, but honestly, the biggest one is to say, I don't have to tighten. I don't have to. I'm so much bigger than that. And I'll just end by saying, I come from Sephardi world, and my grandfather would call me Hanum, which is a tender way of saying tenderly. It was a tender, he'd come in and say, Hanum, how are you? And I just hear that word and everything softens. So I think really the concept of softening
Mhm.
from here all the way down. And we're not going to get the opportunity to hear the shofar until after sunset. But I use the resonance of the shofar to open everything up.
Mm.
I literally let the vibration of the shofar open my spine. So I hope that was helpful.
That's fantastic, Janice. Thank you so
I'm
much.
sure we'll do
Really.
more, Mark. And if you
Yeah,
have
we will.
questions,
We
you
will.
can find me on my, you're welcome to respond to anything by going onto my website. Mark posted it. I respond to emails, maybe not the day of, but I respond to people. If you contact me, I'll get back to you.
Great. Harry, maybe you can stick it back in the chat if you get a chance.
It's
Janice's website,
bodydialogues.com. BODY.
bodydialoguesplural.com,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, great.
Blessings to all of you. Thank you so much, Mark, Harry, and Claire.
Thank you too.
And
Thanks,
Sarah.
Janice and Claire and Dorot for this partnership today. Be well, everyone. Hope to see you tomorrow.
Gemar Hatima Tova.
Gemar
Thank
May
you.
you
Chatima
all be
Tova to all.
signed.
Take care. Many
Bye-bye.
blessings.
Take care, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.